Welcome back to the Chicagolandians, a casual Chicago sports podcast. I'm your host, Connor Cunningham, joined as always by Patrick Cunningham.
Hello.
Patrick, how you doing?
I'm doing great. The weather in Champaign has been absolutely beautiful. In a couple days, you and I both will be running the Champaign Marathon, which I'm very excited for, and I hope we can get some similar weather to today on that day.
Could not agree more with that statement. On this episode, we have a very special guest, our first player interview in Chicagolandians history. We have David Olano. He is the starting kicker for the University of Illinois Fighting Illini. Last season, he was an all Big Ten honorable mention. He started all 12 games for the Illini. He was fifth in field goal percentage at 85%. He only missed 4 field goals the whole season. He had a great first season for the Illini, and we're super excited to talk about him.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's cool to see the Chicagolandians brand grow a little bit, expand. Finally get somebody with some serious credentials on the podcast, some serious athletic credentials. I mean, obviously our guests that we've had before have some serious sports knowledge credentials, but I'm very excited for this interview.
Yeah, super good interview. I think you guys are really going to like it. But before we get to the interview, we just want to hit quickly on some Chicago sports news. So first off, we have the Chicago Bulls. So unfortunately, at the time of recording our last episode, that actually was recording pretty much during the Chicago Bulls play-in game. But the Bulls have unfortunately lost to the Miami Heat 109-90 in the first round of the play-in tournament. For the past 3 years, we have lost to the Miami Heat in the play-in tournament, and we are once again out of the playoffs. Tough end to the season. Even more embarrassing given how excited and how much Kool-Aid we were consuming on that last podcast episode.
Yeah, unbelievable. We recorded that episode on Tuesday, I believe, or maybe Monday, and the game was on Wednesday. And the game was at 6 on Wednesday, and I started editing at 3 or 4, I believe, on Wednesday, and I was just sprinting to finish. And then my worst nightmare was as soon as the game started, we got down about 15 points as I was still editing the podcast. And I think I finished it at halftime when we were down, I think, 20. Team was absolutely unrecognizable from the end of the season. I don't know what the heck happened. I don't think, following that game, I don't know if we have any corner pieces of this team. Like I said before, I don't know if we should pay Giddey $30 or $40 million. I don't think so. I think we burn it all to the ground again and start with Buzelis, and that's it. But yeah, very disappointing, embarrassing. The Heat went on to beat the Atlanta Hawks and then are now currently down 1 game to the Cleveland Cavaliers. So we'll see how they do. They got blown out, lost by 21 to the Cavs in Game 1. But yeah, the Heat absolutely own us. It sucks.
All right, let's move on to baseball real quick. We're going to hit on these pretty quickly. The Chicago White Sox, 5-17. For us math heads out there, that is a 22% win percentage, putting us on pace to win 36 games or 5 worse than last year, where we tied the all-time worst record in MLB history. Things are not looking good. On the other side of the city, the Chicago Cubs are sitting at 14-10 right now, actually having a pretty strong start to the season. But overall, we are a Chicago White Sox podcast, so we're going to make this everyone else's problem. The Chicago White Sox are once again having a very poor season.
Yeah, we stink. At the time, so I made this outline yesterday. That game, 1-4 Minnesota Twins, we did not come back in that game, unfortunately. So the Sox are currently 5-18, which puts us at a 21% win percentage. So it drops us down to 35 projected wins for the season. So 6 worse than last year. So, I mean, not looking good. Is this a year, though, we could get a top draft pick?
Because last year we got the 10th. We could at least get the first round pick this year, or first overall pick this year.
Okay. Well, I guess that's something to look forward to. But, hopefully Jerry dies within the next 2 years or something, and we can get new owners or something. Sorry, I would never pray for that, but,
You can certainly wish for it. Never pray for it, but you certainly wish for it, I guess.
If something happened, I wouldn't be super upset. But.
Yeah, all right. And last piece of news, we have the Chicago Bears. The NFL draft is in 1 day. At the time of recording, the draft is tomorrow, Thursday, April 24th. It's real close to the draft right now. Vibes are very high. I feel like there's still a lot of smoke around what's going to happen at the 10 for the Chicago Bears, but overall, extremely excited. Draft day is like Christmas for me. I can't wait for draft day in Green Bay tomorrow.
Yeah, there's so much, like you said, there's so much uncertainty, I feel like, right now with the Bears at 10. I honestly have no idea what's going to happen. I feel like in the last week and a half, Tyler Warren has shot up everybody's draft board for who the Bears are going to take at 10. And Genty now just seems to be a sure thing at 5 or 6 to the Raiders or the Jags. So honestly, I have no idea what's going to happen. I think I am just glad I am not the one making the decision right now. I'm glad I'm not there. But yeah, I feel like Campbell in the last week, Campbell, there doesn't seem like there's a chance he's going to make it to us. Membu doesn't seem like there's a chance he's going to make it to us. Shador doesn't seem like a lock for the Browns anymore. Everything has just been thrown off. So I'm excited to just see what happens tomorrow.
Yeah, so our next episode, we'll probably do a breakdown of the NFL draft. Probably going to be super excited. Probably going to drink in a lot of Kool-Aid for the Bears, explaining why we won once again the offseason. But yeah, that's all we have for our news here. Pat, if you don't have any more news coming across your desk right now, I think we could kick it off to our interview. So without further ado, here is our interview with Illinois place kicker David Olano.
All right, welcome back to the Chicagolandians. We are joined today by a very special guest, number 24 for the Fighting Illini. You know him, David Olano. David, how you doing, man?
Good. How are you guys?
Doing pretty great, man. It's Friday. Easter Sunday's coming up, so we got a little break going home for the weekend. So honestly, vibes are pretty high right now.
Exactly. Can't complain.
Yeah. No, but David, I want to thank you for coming on today. First question, kind of breaking news, David. I'm sure you saw this, but Chick-fil-A is running a promotion right now where students make a 35-yard field goal. They get free student tickets. I know you're a place kicker. You're probably going to kick some 35-yarders next year. Where's your mental at right now with this? I feel like, one hand, you get a lot of students making 35-yarders, kind of put some heat on you. Got people missing 35-yarders. Maybe that takes some heat off of you in the future. Where's your head at?
Yeah, no, with this challenge, I think it's cool. We did a little bit of testing with some other people just to make sure a 35-yard was kind of our line that, maybe not too many students were making it. So,
yeah.
So it's not like we're giving away, free student tickets, but it's definitely doable though. But no, I think it should be fun. We kind of shot a little promotion video for it too, so to get people engaged into it. But no, I think some people will get it. I think if anyone's a soccer player on campus and definitely has some student tickets, like I don't think they should shy away from this. Just because you get a chance to pay for your student ticket, which is like an easy thing to just go out there and just hit a football and whatnot, and yeah, who knows? Like who knows? I'm pretty sure. I think a lot of people will make it. Some of the people that are around the facility say, I don't think people will do it because
Yeah.
35 field goals, it's not anything, shy of, just a 20-yard field goal. It's
No,
pretty
that's not nothing, man. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not nothing, and it's funny though, because people, 35 yards looks kind of easy for some people, but when you're back there, and because some people don't realize that a 35-yard field goal is basically the 25-yard line, but it's 10 yards 10 yards added from the end zone. So like people see the ball spotted at the 25-yard line, and people are just like, all right, like, this is easy. It's a 25-yard field goal, but you got to count for like the 10 yards in the back of the end zone and whatnot. So yeah, no, it's pretty doable, I'd say, and I definitely want to see some people make it. But I think it'll be fun. It'll be a cool little experience to be a part of.
Hell yeah, David. I'll say 35-yarder doesn't look any easier than sitting on the couch, man. Sitting on the couch watching the game. It looks real close. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, no.
But all right, David, tell us. It's a Friday. How's your off season looking right now? Kind of what's the off season look like for you? You talked about spring ball. What's kind of your day to day looking like, and how you getting ready for next season?
Yeah, so spring ball's actually been really good. I think this year we kind of changed it up a little bit. This year we've kind of gone Monday through Friday, just days that we're involved with the team. Saturdays we come in on Saturdays sometimes if we need to, or have a bad day of the week where coach just kind of wants to in. But no, through Monday and Friday we only practice 3 times a week. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and those days that we practice are usually different. Sometimes we practice in the evening. Like tonight we have an evening practice. Sometimes we practice in the morning. And then those days are usually like, filtered with some meetings. So it's vice versa. So if we practice in the morning, we're going to meet at night, or vice versa. We practice at night, we meet in the morning. But those are the practice days, and they've been good. They've been good. Coach gave us a practice off one day where he brought everyone outside, and we started practice in 5 minutes. the whistle, brought everyone
Mm.
in, and let's go home. So that was fun. And
Oh, hell yeah.
that was the night of the NCAA March Madness game with Florida and Houston. So
Mm,
a lot
hell
of
yeah.
people were excited to go back and start watching that game. But the other days where we don't practice, we lift. So yeah, it's not too bad. Lift is obviously we're in practice, so it's nothing too heavy, but it kind of gets us, flowing and whatnot. But before spring ball, we had 8 weeks of lifting, so that was just
Yeah.
straight Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, where we were in there and just lifting with the strength staff, just kind of getting our bodies ready for spring ball, and then now we're kind of, like I said, we're about to be done with it. We have our last practice and scrimmage today. So, after today, have like a week of lift, and then we get a month of May off and kind of have to be back in the summer. But no, it's been fun though.
Hell yeah.
I really complain about it. So,
Nice, man. I guess during the off season, are you doing less heavy lifting right now? Like once you actually start playing football, is it more just kind of like maintenance, kind of just
yeah,
like staying
yeah,
loose, kind of?
definitely. Like, so we have like 2 8-week cycles where it's pretty heavy. So that's usually right after we come back from the season. So like January. And then the other 8 weeks is in the summer when we come back for June and July. Those are another 8 weeks where they kind of push us pretty hard just to get our bodies right for fall camp. And it kind of works well because, the 8 weeks you get ready for spring ball. And then the 8 weeks in the summer you get ready for fall camp. But no, in the season it's a lot of maintenance. Like, we'll focus more on recovery, kind of just not really straining too much, like not
Hmm.
doing a bunch of heavy stuff that will just, get your body all just sort of like fucked
Sure.
up and whatnot. It's good though. They do a good job keeping us right, and it's not too bad. Like ourselves, even, we come in after a pretty, heavy day of practice. Obviously, well, I don't, but like other guys do, like come in and they're pretty,
Hey, you
we
practice just like everybody else, man.
yeah, no, but I get a lot of comments on it too, because yeah, we'll have a long practice and maybe I'll say a word or two complaining. They're like, what are you about? So no, but no, it's cool. We come in some days and we don't have much. It's more like a recovery day and whatnot. So it's
Sure.
definitely less, working out and more like moving more weight. It's less of that when we're in season and playing football, but obviously more of it when we're out.
You got any numbers to throw out for us? I feel like you see some punters in the NFL or some kickers, and they're just like humongous. Maybe they're not practicing all the time, so they're just lifting heavy ass weight when they're not.
Yeah,
Got any numbers to throw out?
lifting wise for me.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
let's hear
no,
it.
I'm not gonna lie. Like, I was never like a weight room guy. Like, I grew up playing soccer, and like, when you think about like a build, like a soccer build, like a guy
Hmm.
who plays soccer, they're never like the stockiest guy, they're never the strongest guy, and I mean, I move the bar pretty well.
Yeah.
Like squat
All
wise,
right.
I'll be up there in the 315s
There you
upwards of
go.
that.
Yeah.
The bench is kind of where I decrease a little bit. Like I
Okay.
was not made to push weight off my upper body, so yeah, I'm still struggling for 225, but it's fun though.
David, a lot of guys are struggling for 225,
Yeah,
man.
it's funny though. Well, I mean, it's kind of like it's crazy though, because you go into the college weight room and you have guys like we have guys like throwing up like 4 plates, like easy and whatnot, and obviously it's a little different. We lift every day, and some guys are just like gifted to just lift a bunch and are strong, and maybe that's why they're there. But no, like in a weight room full of those guys, like I'm always the one doing the least amount of weight when
Mm.
it comes to, like upper body lifting and stuff. But as much as like I want to be lifting as much as them, like at the same time, like I don't need my upper body to kick. So it's actually funny. We have a summer event called Lift for Life,
Mm.
and they pick teams. There's like 4 captains, and they each pick like different players on the team. I'm always the
Yeah.
last pick. I'm always the last pick. The challenges are basically 225 bench press. How many pull-ups can you do? Like those numbers get added and like accumulate to a point total. And like, wheeling around a wheelbarrow, sorry, and another one's like walking around with like a deadlift, like whatever. And so
Mm.
a lot of like physical challenges, and I'm always picked last, and I don't blame them.
I'm
Like,
sorry to hear that, man.
yeah, no,
They gotta throw in a kicking competition
yeah,
or something
actually,
to kind of even it out.
yeah, no, last year I was second to last, so I'm getting better.
There you go.
But I mean, like the past 2 years, I'll get under that 225 bar and just try to get it up. But I'm not there yet. Maybe this summer I'll get it and add one bench press rep to the point total. So
There you go.
we'll see though. We'll see.
Nice. There you go. Outside of those team-specific lifts and spring ball, with a position like kicker that is so specific, do you have kind of your own routine or things that you're working on off the field, or what does that routine kind of look like?
I think a lot of programs where kickers are at, many times you rarely have a coach in the program that really like knows kicking. My coaches right now help me as much as I can when they try to see stuff.
Hmm.
But like right now, I have coaches that I work on outside of football,
Mm.
and kind of like a routine that I do with them. Like, if I have a bad day, I'll send them film, and they'll get with me and whatnot. Just because obviously, like, my coaches help me as much as they can, but at the
Hmm.
same time, like, they never like kicked or know like
Right.
the detailed or like the technique of kicking and whatnot. And that's like that's pretty regular
Hmm.
to yeah, any program. So yeah, it's pretty nice because I have a coach outside that I get to go see and sometimes miss a weekend of lifts and practice to go see him, which is also another thing that Coach B is like really really cool about is he understands that I had like there's no one really in the building to kind of help me like with those detailed like specific stuff. So
Sure.
he let me fly out. I'll go to Florida for a weekend. Like I'll probably be going to Florida this summer for a weekend to get with him and go to Gatlinburg, Tennessee to kick with some guys. But it's kind of different though, because some
Hmm.
wide receiver coaches like usually they know what they're talking about. They
Yeah.
have
Right.
all and whatnot, and outside linebackers have. We have an outside linebackers coach that used to play outside linebacker in the NFL. So it's
Hmm.
one of those things where I have a routine outside of football to kind of get with the coach, and it's pretty straight. It's pretty simple. I mean, yeah, I usually go to him, and I usually keep track of what my misses are. So we have like a
Hmm.
notebook. I'll write down my makes and my misses, and with my misses, I'll just write a little note of where I'm spraying the ball if it's either right or left, and just kind of talk to my coach about it. And then when I'm finally with him, kick a little bit, and he kind of sees kind of what's wrong and whatnot. So.
Nice. Gotcha. There you go. Do you feel like at the level that you're at, improvement right now as a kicker is getting physically stronger to increase your range, or is it still learning the technique and getting consistency, or maybe something like the mental battle of just kind of zoning everything out? Where is it at for you?
I think technique wise, I would say like not really at all. It's kind of crazy. Like, when you think about, for example, let's talk about like a 35-yard field goal. Like when you think
Hmm.
about a 35-yard field goal that I might have in a game, I can't tell you guys the number of how many times I've probably kicked that kick like outside. Like
Hmm.
coming up in practice, in high school, or like just, messing around, like training by myself. Like
Sure.
it's, I've kicked it so many times, and obviously, like stuff changes in my technique, and that's kind of like something I really don't force. It's something that kind of happens. But technique wise, like I don't think much changes, especially
Hmm.
if people are at the level that they play college football and whatnot. They're there for a reason. Like I think technique wise, like kind of shy away from that. But I think the biggest thing is also like mental. I think the biggest thing about kicking is whatever goes on between your ears, and that's like super important too for a lot of people to realize is I like to say kicking is like maybe 90% mental and
Yeah.
10% kick. That's because
100%.
it's because you go out there and it's like quarterbacks, offense has 4 downs to get another shot at 4 downs, right? Like they
Hmm.
have unlimited amount of plays to go out there and perform. As kickers, like we only have one opportunity, right? It's a 50% position that either you make it or you don't. And that's kind of like the biggest mental thing that I probably like zone in about, just be like, hey, like, I don't get a redo, once in a
Hmm.
while I'll get a flag thrown, but it can either be in our favor or not. And that's something like, I feel like not a lot of people think about, especially when you see kickers start missing and whatnot. It's just like, oh, like, it's, they're supposed to make it and it's just a
Right.
kick and whatnot. It's usually has to go. I I want to say usually it has to go with something that's, going up mentally wise, just going
Yeah.
out in the field, being prepared for the moment, like knowing it's your kick coming up and whatnot. So
Makes sense. Yeah, David, you've mentioned some things. You talked about spraying the ball between the ears, mentals. Do you draw a lot of parallels with? I know you golf. Do you feel like a lot of similarities between golf and kicking?
yeah, I do. I think, one of my favorite quotes that so in our meeting room we have our name tags, and then we have like two things we work on, and then we have like a quote that we
Hmm.
live by. And the quote I have is, your driver gets you noticed, your putter gets you paid. like what that means is obviously kicking a long field goal, like people are gonna like notice you, right?
Hmm.
But really, like what gets you paid is, making those, like being consistent, like being inside 45 where you're just automatic.
Yeah.
So I think one of those things is something I really like, think about the most. I think, like, for example, like I had a spring camp, like maybe just like last year around this time where I ended the year 100% inside 40, and like that was like
Yeah.
something really like happy about, just because like those are like guaranteed points for the team, and you'll go out there and hit a long field goal, and that's when people, kind of
Hmm.
watch, raise their eyes and whatnot. But I think really like zoning in on those like small field goals is kind of like the most important one, I'd like to say. But no, I kind of refer it to golf though, like you mentioned, like
Yeah.
golf and kicking is kind of similar. It's only you out there. It's only a golfer out there, like, putting and whatnot. And mental wise, like I bet you guys have seen like golfers kind of blow up, and
Hmm.
you don't really see too often kicking wise, just because it's not like, we rarely get opportunities in a game. Like you never really see a kicker get more than like 5 opportunities in a game, opposed
Sure.
to like a golfer, having like 18 holes where they can,
Yeah.
always be there. So no, I definitely like do kind of co-align it with golf, and like the mental aspect of like, you shank a shot in golf or you miss a kick in golf, and you kind of always have to be one of one, and that's kind of like our quote in our room is just one of one. You make it one of one, all right, move on, and then you miss one of one, move on. Like,
There you
it's
go.
it's one of those things you never can get wrapped around, and I think that's what hurts a lot of guys too is when they miss, they just start thinking about it.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, David, I wanted to ask again. So you talked a little bit about your high school career. So I know you started kicking when you were a junior, right, in high school. So it was a little late for you.
yeah,
We know we both played high school football as well. But we had a guy who's currently long snapping at Miami, and we have a kicker who's kicking at Northwestern right now. We noticed the recruiting things for those specialist positions are kind of different than typical, like, quarterback or receivers with like, Rubio long snapping or like Cole's kicking. I feel like junior
yeah.
year is very important for recruiting. What was it like kind of being, do you feel like you were late to the recruiting for that like season, or what was it like being so new to kicking, trying to get your name out there to start getting those offers to try to go to the next level?
Yeah, no, so I really just started playing football to play football. Like I had
Hmm.
no intentions of going somewhere with it. Like I don't know if you guys knew, but like the whole story of it is I broke my wrist my freshman year,
Hmm.
soccer, and I had to play with a cast on, whatever. I played, and then my sophomore year, like same thing happened, like a year apart, I broke it again. So I was
Jeez.
like, no, I don't want to play again. Like, I was kind of just miserable, like getting injured and whatnot. So I was like, oh, let's play football. And I originally tried to wide out just because all my buddies were on the team. And I was like, hey, it's my junior year. Like, I wasn't gifted enough to go play basketball, baseball, whatever. Like, I really just grew up playing soccer and kicking a football or soccer ball around. So I was like,
Hmm.
hey, let's do it. So I started playing wide out, and then coach had me move on to kicking, and I did it for a couple games, like with no coaches, like no thought of it. I was just hitting the ball, and it was one of my buddies connected me with one of the kicking coaches around the area, and that's when
Hmm.
I went with him, and he kind of got me started, and he kind of saw me kicking. I was hey, you can go somewhere with it. But yeah, no, starting in junior year, I think it's definitely like a late process for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Obviously, like you said, like quarterbacks and wide receivers, like you see guys right now getting recruited like freshmen in
Yeah,
eighth grade
exactly. Right.
1 year. Like it's insane, like the way like college football is with them. I thought I had a pretty hectic, recruiting and whatnot, but I can't, like those guys, I can't even imagine. But it's definitely like a late thing for us, just because we're obviously the last roster spot that gets filled out for teams. But I think like majority of it is it comes maybe junior year, summer going to your senior year.
Okay.
So I was a little late. Like I missed some camps, some recruiting camps, and the way I kind of like got prepared for that first camp kind of helped me. Like
Mm.
I was working a lot, and knew that it was going to be a big camp to kind of, if I wanted to play, because a bunch of guys were already ranked and whatnot, and I was just coming in and whatnot. So obviously my trainer told me about Chris Saylor and Coles
Hmm.
and whatnot. So I started doing it with them maybe half a year after I started kicking. I went to my first camp, and I went like really, really, really well. Like, I got ranked. I think it was number 3 in the world in Chris Saylor, and then Coles. I got ranked, I think, in the top. I think I was like sixth or eighth.
Hmm.
So I thought I thought after that I was like, hey, like I stopped thinking about like being a late bloomer or whatnot
Sure.
because like finally I got my name out there and whatnot, and that's kind of when some schools started to message me and follow me and whatnot and start inviting me some things in the summer. So no, I feel like I mean obviously I was a little late, but at the same time like for the position I play, I don't think it was like too,
Yeah.
damageable, kind of ruined my recruiting process and whatnot. Like I was still able to go on visits, I was able to have enough time to make a decision, but obviously I jumped the gun with Illinois and committed pretty much on the spot. So
Yeah. Gotcha. So you talked about a little bit about your coach watching you kick, and he kind of giving you the confidence to go out and say, okay, maybe I can pursue this at the college level. But for you specifically in high school, was there a moment where you felt maybe it was at these kicking competitions where you felt that confidence that you could go on and play at the college level? Was it a specific game or a moment or?
yeah, I had a moment in high school where I had made the game-winning field goal, and I always saw like clips of game-winning field goals and like how cool it was and whatnot, and I always thought like you never really want to be in that position, to be
Hmm.
honest. Like you never do. Like I don't know if there's a kicker that would ever tell you. I mean, obviously you want to be the guy to make a difference. If you want to be the guy in the position, like it's all on you to make the kick, right? But I mean, I've never wanted to be in that position. I love to do something for the team, and I would love to like kick a game-winning field goal. But at the same time, like there's so much stuff that goes into it. Like everyone's eyes are on you. Like we had a moment one game against Nebraska when we were going into overtime this
Hmm.
up, and I started to get ready. I was like, okay, like, it might come down to me and
Hmm.
whatnot. I see like my teammates like turn to me and just kind of give me a look and whatnot. I'm like kind of like, guys, like let's settle down because it definitely adds pressure and whatnot. Watching the TV copy back a couple weeks later because my parents record the games. Like even like on their drive, like they'll pan the camera at me like and be like say things like, "Hey, David, first year kicker," like whatever, because they know like it might come down to it.
Hmm.
So obviously at this level, like it gets the pressure's pretty there, and it's obviously like I want to be the guy to kick the game winning field goal, but the stuff that leads up to it is definitely nerve wracking. But now to go back to that question that you asked, it was my high school game. I had my first year actually playing. I had a game-winning field goal against Mateo Valley, and it was like one of those like it was like a pink out game, so a lot of people were there, and the whole thing of it was like foggy. So the video I have of it is pretty cool because the background of the kick is all fog, and it was like the last 3 seconds, and I like barely scraped it in, and it was a cool moment. And I think after that, I was just like, hey, like, all right, like, maybe I could, go somewhere with this. And it was one of those cool moments too that kind of like made me like love it even more. Cause,
Hmm.
like I was like, I kind of really just started playing just to be with my buddies and
Hmm.
I think my coach telling me like, hey, you can do something with it. I was like, all right, like whatever. Like I never really
Right.
saw like go play football at the next level. But I think after that moment, I was definitely more intrigued into the sport and into the position. So I loved it and whatnot. So I think that was
Yeah.
the moment that kind of like, steered my head in the right way.
That's sick. So you talked about, big kind of moments in high school, but like going to the next level, what was it like? I feel like we had two really big away games this year at Penn State and Oregon. What is it like kicking in like such big enemy territory? What's that like, especially with like those huge stadiums and those really crazy fans?
It's crazy. I mean, obviously Memorial gets packed and
Yeah.
you
Hmm.
kind of get used to playing at stadiums like that. But I mean, those stadiums like Penn State and Oregon, those are like different caliber ones. Like
Yeah.
those people have like 100,000 that go fill up the seats like every game, like no matter who it is, and it's definitely nerve wracking. It definitely like messes with you a little bit just because in warm ups here, like I rarely see people in their seats in Memorial, and people just kind of come in and whatnot. But like when we go to Penn State and Oregon, like everyone's already in their seats like hours before the game. So even when I'm
Yeah.
warming up, it's like I'm feeling it already because
Right.
Hmm.
I'll miss a kick in warm ups and like the student section behind the field goal post will like obviously like no good or
Yeah.
whatnot or start saying stuff and I mess around with them like but yeah no those games are definitely nerve wracking and obviously the Penn State one it was like their mini whiteout or whatever it
Yeah.
was
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, I had a field goal that game that like unfortunately I missed and whatnot. But like being out there and like, holy crap, like you're just like you're shaking. Like the crowd noise and everything like gets you going. And obviously I was able to redeem myself at Oregon, like make a
Yeah.
kick at a big stadium. I made one field goal there, but like seeing those people in the back is just like super nerve-wracking because like they're just like yelling and waving around, and obviously like your peripheral vision is always going to see it. You could be
Hmm.
focused
Hmm.
on the goal, but you're always going to see like a little movement
Right.
outside. So that's also another like where the mental of it comes into,
Yeah,
like
for sure.
hone in on it. But we were playing, who was it? Yeah, we were playing Nebraska actually, and
Hmm.
the fans were so close, and I started getting into it with the guy, just like
There you
just
go.
messing around with him. He was like 2-4, like you're missing whatever, like you're like you suck. And I usually kick like where the team isn't on the sideline to warm up
Hmm.
for kicks. And I was like heckling him. I was like saying stuff like, yeah, like, wow, like we'll score right here. So like I made the field goal in Nebraska, and I came off and like did something to him. And then Nebraska scored, I would look at him and he'd start doing stuff to me. So I like try to make it engaging with people. Like I've done it at Rutgers before. Like there's a guy that just like yells my name. Like usually one guy's always like screaming at the kicker warming up and whatnot. So it's fun. I mean, but like away games, like it gets like that though. But as much as it is nerve wracking, like I try to have fun with it like that. So just to kind of like get my head in the right space and not like get too tense about it.
Yeah. Couldn't
For sure.
imagine kicking there, man. That must be
Yeah,
tough.
no, it's like people talk about it. Like obviously people talk about like the Penn State wideout and like that
Hmm.
mission, the whole like Mo Bamba thing on
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's like a crazy
Stadium
thing.
Bulls, yeah.
Yeah, no, literally, that's one of the things. Like people talk about it and you see it on any internet and you're like, oh yeah, like holy crap, like that's crazy. But then when you're there, you're like, geez, like obviously we didn't have like the pulse and the crowd that that Michigan Penn State had, but like
Hmm.
I can't imagine what that was like if we played in that environment that we did. Like
Yeah.
it's probably 10 times louder, and it was just unreal.
Well, in those big moments or like in those big stadiums, I guess you talked about one specific time when you did miss, and you don't miss that often, but when that does happen, do you kind of have a thought process that you go through, specific memories or coaching tips from your kicking coach that kind of centers you or brings you back to center before you kick again?
Yeah, I think getting back after you miss a kick is the hardest thing in our position, just because you think about missing a kick, you're like, all right, I had one opportunity, missed it, whatever. But I think not really thinking about it really, like you miss a kick, you can't really start to think about it a lot. You can't just
Hmm.
start making up, questions or making up excuses like, oh, like what, like was it my toe being down? Was it my hips like not being pointed? Like did I follow through? Like whatever. Like you can't really start thinking about it because the more you think about it, like obviously the more tense you'll be next time you go. For example, like the Penn State when I miss or the
Hmm.
Central I miss, you kind of just jog off the field, not really think about it. But it's most importantly like what you do after. Like I'll go in the
Hmm.
kicking net, and just hit one or two footballs into it because I don't want to start kicking like 10 footballs and just start to kind of just like getting my head about like
Sure.
why I'm no, it's definitely the hardest part of kicking is the next kick, after you miss. I think that's the hardest kick. But obviously a lot of guys like know that, one miss doesn't really like, shouldn't shape the game,
Right.
and one miss, doesn't mean that you're just completely off or like your technique is completely off because people miss and whatnot, and that's one thing that elite level guys are able to do is just kind
Hmm.
of walk away a kick and just move on to the next one. What was it? Jake Moody with the
Hmm.
49, that one game he
Yeah.
missed like four, and then he
Yeah.
comes out and it's the game winner.
Hmm.
Like those are moments where like you wash them away. Obviously when you miss that many, he could have, maybe put his head down and just been like, holy crap, like, started missing more. But it's more of like the kick afterwards. And,
Right.
and he came out, missed four field goals, like had his teammates even against him, but he goes out, hits the game winner, and then no one really talks about those four missed field goals. They really
Exactly.
talk about the make. So
Yeah. No, that's fair. Dave, we got two more questions for you. We'll wrap up soon. But David, famously, you wear a whoop when you kick. What's behind that?
Yeah.
Why do you do that? Is that, I know Odell wore
That's
a 200,000 Richard Millie. Is
that's
it like
that's
inspired by
hilarious.
that? But
So
why do you do that?
that's the first time I've had anyone like no one sees it. Not even my family does. So that's hilarious. But no, I started wearing a whoop, was it my freshman year?
Mm.
And obviously like a whoop you have on like 24/7 because
Yeah.
all that stuff and whatnot. And I think it was like going into fall camp, I just kept wearing it in practice. And there's actually a reason to it. It's not
Okay.
really like when you're kicking, your left hand should always come across your body, right?
Mm.
Okay. Yeah.
Striking the ball, like you're never like straight armed or like whatever. Like when it comes across your body, like your hips come through it, whatever. So like if you watch a couple kickers, they'll have their left arm like come across, their eyes or whatever. So one thing I learned from James McCourt, who was
Mm.
here a couple years ago, he would wear wrist tape and
Mm.
Oh,
use
okay.
it to end it. Like when he saw the white, that's when he knew he was coming across with his hand. So that's why I started doing it. So in fall camp, I wore the whoop to kind of, if I saw the red or the black whoop, like we were good, like
Right.
that was
Yeah.
that was my little like aid or guide to help me like get my arm across. I was like, hey, I gotta see the whoop or whatever. Because that was like kind of one of the things I was kind of like struggling with is not getting like my arms or my arm through and
Hmm.
whatnot, and the whoop was there to kind of like help me out as a little aid, and I obviously fixed it in fall camp, and then going into the season I was like I would go into practice and lifts with it on, like I lift with it on and whatnot, and my first game I forgot I had it on just because like I literally wore it for, a
Hmm.
whole straight and, whatnot. So I forgot about it because I would never take it off and no one said anything about it. Like the refs, didn't mind it or anything.
Right.
I just kept playing with it and how and like having it as a guide or an H helped me out. And ever since then, I've kind of never taken it off. I had a couple reps this year kind of mention it to take it off. So
Hmm.
no, it's funny enough because I mean, no one's ever noticed it, but
Yeah. Yeah.
guys did. But yeah, no, there's a little story behind it. But at the same time, like I just like, going in my whoop and later after the game and seeing like, my stress
You're
monitor
checking out the
maybe
stats. Yeah.
or like my strain or something. Like
Mm.
it's fun to see the stats too, especially like, when you play a game and whatnot. So
Nice, man. All right. Well, David, so coming up in 2025, I feel like we're pretty excited. We got a lot of returners coming here for the season. What are our expectations that you're putting on yourself? And I mean, overall, what are we putting expectations for the Illini next year?
yeah, I think, our team coming back is one of like the most exciting things. Seeing all those guys come back, I wanted to come back as well and do something special again with them. And obviously just build on from what we had from last year. Like obviously we
Hmm.
know we have pieces for it. We have the staff for it. Coach B is getting us in the right direction, but
Yeah.
just like improving from last year, really. Just with the guys that we have as a team. Obviously, we have a 7 week stretch where we don't have a bye week, and then our seventh game is at Ohio State at home.
Hmm.
So kind of like being in top shape for that, and starting off hot, all those things, but really just improving from last year. Like now we have set the bar at what it's like, and hopefully try to build from it. And a lot of guys see that too. A lot of guys realize that we have a special team this year where we can do something special. So going into fall camp and practice and whatnot, the vibes are good, and everyone's feeling really good about the season and excited just because of what we did last year and the guys that we have. And for myself, just build on, like, same thing, just build on from last year. Obviously, as a first year guy, I had some things that were new to me, but now going into my second year place kicking, I kind of now know what it's like to kind of be in some of those environments, especially like away games
Hmm.
and have picks. So kind of just build and kind of learn from before. And obviously, I want to make the girls a watch list. I want to make be a semifinalist, all Big Ten again. Like there's a lot of things I want to do and again, or just completely brand new. But I think if I just make it through the two posts, I'll be in good shape. And
Hell yeah.
um and yeah, so just kind of build on and just take it one day at a time. Never really look at look at the day ahead, never think about if I miss 3 Ks, be like, oh, I don't know if I'll get all Big Ten, whatever. Just
Sure.
it by day and improving every day and kind of just being with the team and helping the team out in any way. I think we'll be in a good spot for next year. So
Nice, man. Nice, man. Well, I mean, you mentioned special. I'm not going to make you say what you exactly special means for the program, but
yeah,
I'm excited for the season, man. I'm really
yeah,
excited.
no,
I think it's going to be a good thing.
Yeah, we definitely did turn a couple heads,
Yeah.
couple heads last year, and it's nice seeing our name in some articles this year. Obviously we were never a team that was getting media attention or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We were finally able to do something last year that we knew where we were capable of, and I think this upcoming year with the group we have, I think it's going to be a really fun season ahead of us. So we can't wait, and obviously for that first game at home. So.
Dude, excited, man. Can't wait.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's all we got, David. I really want to thank you again for coming on, man. You were a great guest. I know they do PR training for you guys, a lot of media training, but I feel like you gave a lot of good regular answers, not a lot of just whatever. Great answers. Really appreciated interviewing you.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Thanks so much.
With you guys. So you guys have a great one, and I'll send you that video too if you guys want.
Perfect. Sounds good, man. Well, have a great day, man. Enjoy your weekend, David.
Awesome. All right, guys. Yeah.
See you, man.
And we are back. That was our 30-minute talk with Illinois place kicker David Olano. Pat, what were your overall takeaways from talking to David?
I was blown away with David. First of all, a little peek behind the curtain. David showed up 5 minutes early to our Zoom interview, which gave me major respect for him. His professionalism was off the charts. And then he seemed really invested in all the questions we asked. He told great stories. He used his phone to show us videos to complement each story, and overall was very attentive and very very nice to talk to and well spoken. I was very impressed with the interview.
Yeah, thought it was a great interview. Like, I'm gonna echo what you say. I thought he was a great interviewer. He was very enthusiastic. We talked about it at the end. With PR training, I feel like a lot of people can kind of dance around questions. David was very direct with every answer that he gave, and I feel like he really was able to weave a story, and I feel like at some point he just knew every story that he needed to tell. And overall, I thought it was a very interesting conversation to talk to a Division I athlete, especially playing at a high-pressure position like kicker at the Big Ten level. I thought was a really valuable conversation to have.
Yeah, 100%. It's funny sometimes when you think of the kicker, even at the D1 at Illinois, you think of like your kicker at Illinois. I don't know. Sometimes you don't pay much attention to him. You only see him a couple times in the game. But then when you talk to him, you realize that, when he talked about his level of competitiveness in recruiting in high school, just how good of how good he is. He said he was one of the top nationally ranked kickers at his position. It's just, you don't really appreciate how good people are at what they do, and even in college.
Yeah, I think he said he was at one point number 3 in Chris Saylor. He said in the world, which is pretty interesting. Granted, there's probably less kickers outside of the United States there's probably a lot more kickers in the United States than outside of the United States. But still, I mean, incredibly impressive. But yeah, overall, we hope you guys enjoyed that conversation. Hopefully this will lead to more conversations with athletes. We're really excited about where this podcast is going. But if you guys enjoyed this episode, make sure to share it with a friend. If you guys enjoyed this podcast, I'm sure you can think of at least one other person who would enjoy this podcast as well. You can follow us on social medias. We can be found on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, as well as YouTube. Feel free to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you consume your podcasts if you got some Google Play freaks out there. But with that being said, I'll sign off as we always do with a bear down.
Bear down. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Chicagolandians. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or wherever you listen. And if you want more Chicagolandians content, you can find us everywhere at Chicagolandians.